Well, just such a clock has been switched on in quantum mankind. Friend reader, there is another entire dimension of existence for each of us, and it is just an instant away, a minute internal awakening away. That dimension has already begun to call our attention to itself, whether we want it or not. Men here and there are beginning to act differently. The attuned eye can see it. The sensitive heart can feel it. There are many in the world who know intuitively and undeniably that something spectacular is already happening, and they are right. It happened to me more than 40 years ago, though I didn't know just what it was then, and 20 years were to pass before I really knew what it was. It changed my life in a most marvelous of ways, and since that time I have been made aware that nearly identical experiences have happened to hundreds more. The clock in quantum man. An inner light tells me that people have clocks within them as certainly as the rest of the creatures in nature. We know something of this already. Puberty kicks in at a certain age, then the mating and homing urgings et al. Throughout our human span. But listen, listen. Something new and marvelous is presently happening in quantum mankind. A new, worldwide urge has begun. To this time in time, only a few have been made fully aware of this mystifying insight. A strange new disquiet and discontent, new urgings that have no rational explanation because they have never been felt by mankind at large, nor written of in words easily understood. We are seeing signs of this divine clock already in the bizarre behavior of this group and that. We've been blaming civilization or television or something else for the strange twists and turns mankind has begun to perform internally and respond to externally. Recently, we have taken to calling it anxiety, stress, informational overload, and so forth. Something deeper is on the edge of exploding. The divine discontent that some of us have struggled with all of our lives is soon to stir all humanity, bewildering all but those who know what it is and what is happening. Those who know are those who have had early access to these urgings and have responded in small ways. While all of us suspect there is more to life than the human scene, a universal recognition is sure to come that indeed there is something else, another dimension spread over the human experience. As we said, it is likely that science will confirm it first. The century plant illustration. Imagine a plant that has lived in the desert for nearly a century, then finally prepares to bloom, seed, and die, its seed to begin another century of time. Imagine also that this plant has a winter's rest each year and new growth each spring, and has been doing this for 99 years. Then, via a clock that has been inside that plant from the very seed it sprang from, it slowly, or suddenly, begins the epic event. It starts to grow a stem with a bud thereon. Can you imagine how the fragmented plant must be self-shaken by all this strange new happenings, so unaccustomed it is to blooming? The roots must wonder where they are supposed to send their nutrition now. The limbs wonder where the growth is going and why. The roots and leaves all send their substance into the new growth and finally to the flower itself. The leaves must complain that they are not receiving from the roots as before, and the roots must wonder why the leaves are not giving to them as they have for 99 years. Tradition is being destroyed. We must stop this foolishness and return to the old values. This preparation of the bud is a shakingly new activity that embraces the plant now. The inner clock, dormant for 99 years, has sprung into action, and the century plant finally blooms to seed and expire. The real bloom, for which the plant was originally intended, forms, blooms, and carries the plant's essences and imprints into its seed self. All the other spring bloomings, the other cycles, the other events through the 99 years have become as nothing compared to this final great blossoming, which has been the purpose of the plant from the beginning, to prepare its seed for another field. What has happened for some of us individually is soon to happen for all mankind. There are two views we mortals contain: the individual view and the quantum overview, the man within a name view and the holistic view. From the standpoint of a view I have been blessed to live, I see clear indication that a new world clock has been turned on in the species, in quantum man, exactly as God turned it on in what appears to be the individual me 40 years ago. Just as the century plant makes a final flowering at the end of its span, so the tree of life, appearing as humanity, is soon to begin a strange behavior from an unrelenting inner urge that will result, after much internal and external turmoil without precedent, in a new bloom, a new community. This divine stirring, different from all that has gone before in this pulse of events for 11,000 years, will bring mankind to re-examine his values, rethink his ideas and beliefs, retest his religions and philosophies, his governments and systems, and find them woefully inadequate. Thence, to turn within himself into a subjective view of life, to discover the very essence of self within the child of God. These events, already begun, will become quantum, every man alive feeling and responding, flailing positively or negatively, responding in all ways, unable to find respite in the former things. The inner clock and world travail. The world has begun the travail that ends in the birth of the child within, Messiah, Redeemer, Savior. Closer than breathing, closer than fingers and toes, not far off, but here all the while. What is more, we will see then that this event, the birthing, was every bit, each step of the way, been foreseen by the lights and prophets, Eastern and Western, above and below, first and last, male and female. More, all of this will be wonderful, precisely what has been called for from the beginning. Not but good going on, the rebirth of the original image of Godhead. How do I know these things are true? I was shown all of this wonder 40 years ago at the pond and didn't believe a bit of it. No way. But in the years since, having been faithful to the vision, having been tested by it and forced to live it, its veracity proven, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, and having found confirmation for every glimpse given, and having lived the quantum of mind as awareness confirmed, and tested by that, I have been told these many years later to write my findings to my inner selfhood and prepare the way for the child's rebirthing and reappearance in the world. I have done that as best I could. By the time this book is published, the quantum appearing of the divine discontent will have kicked in for the world at large. Not bad, but good happening. The child, the children of God, will survive. That concludes all the chapters in Book 1. You may go on to Book 2 of Related Papers, which begins on track 15.